Greetings from Mickey and from me from Castle Goring. We have an awful lot of ground to cover today, so Mickey has advised me to have a minimal preamble and to plunge right in. So with Mickey's approval, that's what I'm going to do. Okie dokes, God bless. Before starting, I will make the point that the Queen was at the Windsor Horse Show this weekend. I've actually been there when she was there with Mohammed Fayed, who used to sponsor the show on behalf of Harrods. Really interesting. This, of course, would have been in the 1980s, I suppose, or maybe the 1990s. Anyway, a long time ago now. Just goes to show how times and things change. Well, as we all know, she was in robust good health, having the time of her life, thoroughly enjoying seeing her granddaughter, Lady Louise Windsor. Notice, not Her Royal Highness Princess Louise of Wessex, but Lady Louise Windsor, notwithstanding the fact that the child is a granddaughter of the reigning monarch and is actually of princely rank. I just make that little point so that Meghan and Harry will console themselves with the fact that, no, Archie not being given a title, the princely title, is nothing to do with racism and classism and institutional prejudicisms along the lines of megalomaniac and has been, thank God, wasn't and never was, but looks as if he's shaping up to be something along those lines. And the Queen was in robust good health and very good form, which was wonderful. She was having the time of her life. She loves horses. It's one of her favourite events of the year. And, you know, the Queen is a wonderful woman. She's not only a great head of state, but she is a woman who has used her life well. And she has used spiritual qualities well. So even though she's in mourning, and even though the family is still reeling from Prince Philip's loss and the huge hole that has been left in their family life, she is having a good time. And I don't know if all of you noticed, she arrived with her good friend, Angela Kelly, which also tells you that not only is the family not racist, it's not class prejudiced, because Angela Kelly was born in very humble circumstances, yet she is now one of the Queen's greatest friends. I just make those little points for what they're worth. And now we go to Elena Rosa Ocho. Question: Dear Lady C, I see that Harry flew back very quickly to LA after the statue unveiling. The Queen was back in London. Why do you think Harry did not visit her? Her Majesty looks wonderful, but she is over 90. Yes, she's 95. Why did Harry not visit her? More to the point would be, did she want Harry to visit her? Or was she eager to avoid a meeting with Harry? And the awkwardness that would result from a meeting with Harry. I am pretty sure that if Harry asked for an appointment, he was not given one. And if he didn't ask for an appointment, it was with great relief. that he didn't ask for an appointment, because the reality is Harry and Meghan are busted flushes at this point. And no matter how they spin it, and no matter how they pretend to the contrary, I am afraid they are persona non grata. It is as simple as that. And I don't care how much sunshine and sacks of money Sunshine Sacks throws at the reality of the situation. They don't want the involvement with Harry and the trouble that will come from any interaction with Harry. You know, treachery is not an accidental trait. Treachery is a character failing. And people who are treacherous will always be treacherous. It's worth considering. And don't think the royal family does not have its finger on the pulse. And don't think that they do not have advisors, including people with medical knowledge, informing them of what to do and how to play these two sharks. Don't for a second think that when you're dealing in a high-stakes game like the survival of the monarchy and the reputation of the crown and the country, that they are not taking the absolutely best advice on the way to deal with these two recalcitrant jokers. Susie Domini 62 says, "Thank you for your interesting video. Would have liked more of your thoughts on Harry and his aunts. I think it was rehearsed beforehand and the ladies stood between them." I think she means between William and Harry. "I think William covered all the bases. No speeches, someone always there to intervene." Yes, I think you're right. I think things may not have been actually rehearsed. They don't need to be rehearsed. Everybody knows what needs to be done, and everybody steps in to make sure that it is done. It's called keeping the peace. It's also called making sure that the show is on the road and that the unwilling dancers actually are more or less in time with the dance routine, and even if they're not, that the rest of the show goes on. You did notice how Sarah McCorkadale, Diana's eldest sister, stepped between as Harry did his magnanimous, William, everything is wonderful. And then I suppose he was hoping that William would have melted in his arms the way Meg's baby does. Except William doesn't have a future that's dependent on keeping Harry sweet. So he wasn't going to melt in H's arms the way Meg's baby does. Oh, H, I just love you so much. Oh, H, heaven is in your arms. Let's take out the violins, but not the Cleveland strings. No, Lawrence Welk's orchestra. Oh, dear. And as soon as Harry did his magnanimous big invitation, not only did William turn slightly, but Sarah McCorkadale stepped between them. And I don't know if you then noticed, after a little while, she went to the other side. The whole thing was beautifully executed. And I'm sure there were no confabs before. Civilised people know how to behave in situations to keep the civilities in place. More than that I won't say. Charlie Girl 2 says, I really must thank you for introducing us to Shenda Amery. What an amazing artist. Yes, she is an amazing artist, isn't she? And the pity is that she was not chosen. She would have done a far better job. It would have been magic. It wouldn't have been competent. It would have been magic. Parsley Palace says, Shenda Amery, exclamation mark. Her sculpture of Queen Noor has humanity and smoothness and lightness. It does. Andrew de Vries also captures lightness in bronze. It is not impossible. No, it isn't. The failing is in the artist, not in the material. If you remember, there is an old saying, a poor workman blames his tools. And Hayley Dennison says, as an artist and fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, I agree entirely with you on the statue. Well said, Lady C. And Marcia Heymans from Holland says, thank you very much, Lady C, for your wonderful videos. You're my favourite YouTube. Thank you. I totally agree with you on Shenda Amery. She would have been a much better choice. I'm an artist myself, and I don't like the statue because it has been perfected too much so that the smallest flaw is visible. English is not her first language. What I think she's actually saying is that it is overworked, which is a variation on what she said, but is actually more accurate. If you overwork something, you work the life out of it. This is also visible in the faces of the children, and especially the noses. The boy has a much too pointed nose like the girl, so the faces take on the expressions of an adult. Very well spotted. Diana's face is way too serious, and she just wasn't. Again, well spotted. It gives her a very masculine look. Yes, it does. This statue lacks Diana's warmth and spontaneity, her charms. It's just not lovable like Diana was. So there we have it from several other artists. And I hate to say I agree. However, CDW says, Lady C, I recently reread your biography of Diana, Princess of Wales, and I noticed Diana was very much opposed to her friends making money out of her. Quote unquote. That's in my book. I wonder if this reported aversion of hers ever crosses the mind of her younger son and his wife. It certainly doesn't. And if it does, they don't give a flying whatever, my dear. They couldn't care less. They wouldn't give a continental damn as long as they can milk it for all it's worth and suck the money out of any situation. No, no, no. And they doubtless know Dan is safely dead, so there's going to be no comeback. But you're absolutely right. Diana absolutely loathed anybody making money out of her. And if she had the slightest hint whatsoever that people were going to be benefiting commercially, financially, or indeed even socially out of her, she would dump them quicker than you could say boo. That's partly why Harry regards Meghan's ghosting as acceptable, because Diana used to do it, not always for good reasons, like not being exploited by people. She used to do it for capricious reasons as well. But she was absolutely right in not wanting people to be exploiting her or her position financially. So to continue the question. Also, you mention in the book that what follows is my own paraphrase and interpretation. If incorrect, please forgive. The monarch's ability to deal with a wide variety of heads of state and politicians has given her an extreme amount of tolerance that allowed the Princess of Wales a lot of latitude for years, until the Panorama interview. I'm guessing the younger son and wife are aware of this character trait and have utilised it to their advantage. Thank you for your wonderful channel. I look forward to your videos every week. Best regards. Very, very well spotted, my dear. Very well spotted. The Queen has a great tolerance, having had to put up with the most outrageous people of the 20th century. I mean, let's remember she entertained people like Ceausescu, you know. She has seen them all, to put it in slang. Harry knows that the Queen is basically a very tolerant person. And so he and the wife have been taking full advantage of her tolerance in the hope that they would get away with everything. But as we have seen, and we are going to see more and more, they have not got away with everything, and they're not being allowed to get away with everything, nor are they going to get away with everything. Indeed, as I've said before, the fight back has started, and if you think it hasn't, they've laid tripwires. They don't need to take out the Uzi and go. They leave the noise to Harry and Meghan. Leslie Wilborn says, oh my goodness, I'm just watching the ITV documentary about William and Harry. It was aired on Sunday evening. I wanted to see what they were saying. Is it my imagination, Lady C, or are they making William out to be a monster and everyone was hanging up on poor Meghan? I can't believe what I am watching. Is there any way that the royal family can redress the balance? I'm so angry about it, especially that smarmy Amid Scabies besmirching Prince William. They are continuing the lies about the questions about the colour of Archie's skin. It is so biased towards Harry and his wife. Well, yes, it is. I saw it, and I thought it was a pathetic example of journalism at its most yellow phase. They had some rather good contributors. They had Camilla Tominey, who is the person who leaked the story originally about Meghan making Meghan making Catherine cry. Have Diana on my mind. Then, of course, Meghan spun it that Catherine didn't cry, that she cried. Well, they also had Penny Jr., who is quite knowledgeable and quite good. They had Amid Scabies, who, what can I say? Plastic by face, plastic by nature. It all comes out as plastic. It's all such rubbish. But that is his allotted role. We must not condemn Joseph Goebbels for being a good minister of propaganda. It is an accomplishment, even if it is not a desirable accomplishment. So we must not ever ever forget that Joseph Goebbels' Mach 2 has a brief and is going to stick to it. The fact that it's all rubbish, and most people know it's rubbish, doesn't alter the fact that this is his brief, and this is how he's making his money, and this is how he's made his reputation. Such as it is. I mean, I would shudder to have a reputation of being a propagandist, but, you know, who am I to speak? Because we also had Robert Lacey, who used to be a reputable journalist and biographer, who has sold himself out, doubtless for money and for approbation and for reputation, and has decided that he's not very much in favour of the royal family, having spent his life writing about them. I mean, honestly, you couldn't make it up. The subtext was that William is responsible for the falling out, and William is not responsible for the falling out. I'm going to repeat it. William is not responsible for the falling out. Meghan is responsible for the falling out. Harry shares responsibility with Meghan for the falling out. Meghan was the one who was disrespecting the royal family, disrespecting the British people, disrespecting the valid way in which a political institution of this supreme importance as the monarchy works and has worked for successfully over a long period of time. Meghan was disrespecting it all. Meghan was also bullying the staff. Bullying the staff. Bullying the staff. I don't think I can say it any more clearly than that. William objected, and now William, according to Robert Lacey, is responsible for the falling out. Well, of course, Robert Lacey has a huge problem because the earlier version of his book, something Brothers at War, so that really was the theme of the programme as well, Brothers at War. So it's really a puff for the book. And the fact of the matter is ITV should be ashamed of itself for broadcasting such a heavily slanted tissue of lies, half-truths, whole inventions, and slurs. How can William be responsible for the falling out when William was reacting to Harry's indefensible behaviour of the indefensible behaviour of Meghan? How is William responsible? William is responsible for drawing a line in the sand and for standing up on behalf of his staff and even those who were not his staff and were joint members of his staff and Harry and Meghan's, and others as well, because don't think she limited her abuse to only those who were directly working under her, because she didn't. And all of a sudden, William is responsible. Robert Lacey really should be ashamed of himself. He used to be somebody who had some stature. Now, Charlene Ishak says, there's an article by Scobie saying that William's staff put out articles on Harry's mental health recently. Looks like trip wasn't productive for Harkle and Parr. Well, in fact, my understanding is that the ITV programme was actually going to allege that William's staff were responsible for informing generally that Harry has mental health problems, and the allegation was pulled because it was regarded as being potentially defamatory. Well, I don't know who it was defamatory of, because there's no disgracing being mentally ill, and it's obvious that Harry is mentally ill. Just look at the way he behaves. Look at what he says. Look at the admissions he's made about his lack of mental health. Lack of mental health means mental illness. It couldn't be simpler. However, the pretense, the stab in the dark is now that William is somehow sullying Harry's reputation. No, he's not. Harry and Meghan have sullied William and Catherine's reputation, the reputation of the royal family generally, the reputation of the British people generally, putting out that somebody is mentally ill when they have behaved as appallingly as Harry has behaved is not defaming them. It is providing a rational explanation for irrational conduct. But you see, no matter what William does, you have all of these wokeists, these oiks, these basically trash people with their trash ideas and their trash agendas, trashing William. Well, there's nothing wrong in saying that somebody who is behaving badly and is mentally ill is mentally ill. Nothing wrong. What are they supposed to do? Act as if he's perfectly sane and that everything is honky-dory, and therefore that he, William, is to blame for things he's not to blame for? I mean, they really need to grow up and get a sense of proportion. Jill Atherton says, Lady C, a question. I have seen reports that Harry is to return to the UK with wife and children possibly in September for a celebration party for Diana. Do you know if this is true? Thanks, and I enjoy your videos. Thank you. Well, this is being put out by Harry and Meghan's people. Remember, Harry and Meghan's people have a brief. 3 stories a week minimum about Harry and Meghan. So they need to be constantly throwing minnows to the sharks in Fleet Street and on Madison Avenue. That's what they need to do. A lot of these stories emanate from Harry and Meghan's camp. It is a way of keeping them in the news. If this kite flies, fine. If it doesn't fly, try another kite. You know, it's the scattergun approach. It works because it does keep them in the news. What celebration are they coming for in September? The celebration of Diana's funeral? Because what else is happening in September that happened in September to celebrate? But it keeps the mystery going, it keeps the drama, it keeps the speculation going. It's one piece of horse manure after the other. I mean, quite frankly, they contribute more to the methane gas problem than a world full of cows farting their way through green fields. Nicola Wildman says, Hello, Lady C. I have always thought that scabies and her who shall not be named are the same person. No, he has a better nose. It could be that it's Megzilla in drag. The similarities are so uncanny. Do you think she will produce the child on George's birthday, just to upstage the event? And do you think she will attend the funeral of her uncle that she had no time for? She is a fraud, in my opinion. Well, my dear, you are entitled to your opinion. And you certainly have enough grounds from her conduct to arrive at the opinion that you have arrived at. So, I'm not going to say I agree with you, but I certainly see where you are coming from. And I'm not agreeing with you for legal reasons. So, going to Uncle Mike's funeral? I think she's going to be so distressed she's not going to be able to go to Uncle Mike's funeral, because it's a grief that's even worse than when she lost the baby, as she was singing to Archie and spotting, what was it, a crayon underneath the sofa, singing to Archie happily in great agony as she was losing the baby 4 weeks before she got pregnant again, or 6 weeks before she got pregnant again. To be such a manufactory of babydom. Will she publish a photograph of the baby on George's birthday? Let us wait and see. I'm sure that whatever she does, it's going to be something that snatches attention from George. Although I don't know if you have noticed, although they are still inveigling their way into everybody's consciousness, their forays are having less and less profound effects, meaning that everybody says, oh yes, oh Meghan's at it again, or Harry's at it again, but it no longer overshadows the other royals. I just make that little point for what it's worth, because it's worth making. So the balloon isn't flying quite at the height it used to fly at. As for the similarities between Meghan Markle and Amid Scabies, well, he would have you believe that they're both mixed race, even though she is half African in slight origin, but not really in terms of full proportions. But her mother is Afro-American and her father's Caucasian. Her mother's most likely about 40% white, so she's about 20% white or black. So that means she's 80% white. So, but she is biracial because she has part of the black race and part of the white race. Amid Scabies is uniracial. Amid Scabies is not biracial. He is uniracial. His mother is Aryan. Remember the Aryans? Remember the Nazis? And the superiority of the Aryan race? Amid Scabies' mother is Aryan. Beside her native country is the Caucasus, whence the white people's name of Caucasian originated. Amid Scabies is 100% white. He poses as biracial because it works with his agenda. Unless you regard a nationality as a race, he is not biracial. It is an untrue claim for him to make. He is binational, meaning of two different nationalities, but of one race, the Caucasian race. But you only need to look at how contrived he is and how contrived she is to see that they have a lot in common. Plastic by name, plastic by nature. Emma Jane Neal says, Lady C, I asked Piers Morgan this question, and I'm now going to read out the question. It's quite a long question, and I need to say that because otherwise you'll think that I'm breaking it up, and I'm not going to. Can I ask a seasoned journalist as yourself a serious question? Amid Scabies, or as some Americans refer to him, Scooby Snacks. Has he ever been a credible journalist? As he is being used by Velma and Shaggy to spin their vitriol and absolute lies, he still hasn't answered how ruddy rude. Meanwhile, Scooby continues to throw snacks, lies, by the blinded by fame, status and money-hungry Velma. Shaggy, well, he's as dumb as ever and crying out, "It wasn't me." I think the question is saying that Piers refused to answer it, and so I'm being asked to answer it. Well, Amid Scabies is a credible journalist to the extent that he is totally partial. He has an agenda, he fulfills it, he makes no pretense about it. Well, he makes a little bit of pretense. He tries to pretend that he's not Meghan and Harry's man and that, I check everything from two separate sources. Meghan on the left, Meghan on the right, I'm sure is what he means. But be that as it may. Let's try to bend over backwards to give the devil his due. Is he credible as an impartial observer? Absolutely not. Is he credible as a mouthpiece? Absolutely. Is he credible as a purveyor of lies, of phonies, facts and fiction? Oh, without a doubt. Is he credible as the purveyor of very mischievous, destructive claims? Undoubtedly. Does he posturize as somebody who shares Meghan's pain to the extent that they are both biracial, notwithstanding the fact that he is uniracial and she is only very small, partly biracial? Yes, he does all of this. He is guilty as charged. However, he is a minister of propaganda. He's basically not very frank about it, but it is undisguised that he is a minister of propaganda. I would say that whatever he says, comes from Meghan's mouth. That's what I'd say. So to that extent, he's very credible. Is anybody in their right mind ever going to believe anything he says? That as if it were fact, as opposed to the horse manure spewing forth from Meghan's orifice upon which I am sitting? No. And on that note, I will say I can well see why Piers didn't answer the question, because Piers is a fulminator. Piers doesn't want to get involved in anything too complex. And Piers, despite being a fulminator, is also a journalist. And with most journalists, you see, I'm not a journalist. I mean, I have occasionally done journalistic work, but I'm not a journalist. Piers and Amid Scabies are journalists, and journalists have the courtesy that one shark has for another. Greenery says, hello, Lady C. Robert Lacey claims that Harry and Meghan have drawn up a 30-page dossier for all the allegations that staff at the palace have made against them. Is that true? Thank you and love your channel. Thank you. I'm glad you like my channel. Yes, my understanding is that Meghan has drawn up an exhaustive dossier rebutting all of the claims and making herself into the victim of a very ineffectual, very inefficient, very incompetent, very lazy, very untoward, very unappreciative, very sloppy, very no good jerks who were there to implement her wishes and were not doing it. Let's see what happens. There's no doubt that Meghan is going to come back fighting. She is a street fighter. She's not from the gutter, but she behaves as if she is from the gutter. It is hard to believe that that girl had a good private education and from a Catholic school as well. My sisters and I went to Catholic schools. My mother and father went to Catholic schools. My brother didn't. He went to Anglican schools, but also church schools. And you are taught from you are knee-high to a grasshopper the difference between right and wrong, the difference between sins of omission and sins of commission, the difference between a lie and the truth. Meghan has no excuse for her conduct. However, she is going to try to create excuses for her conduct. And it's going to be everybody else's fault but her own, which is yet more confirmation of the fact that she suffers from mental and personality problems. Ofet says, Lady C, do you think Harry hates William and what Lacey says is true about years of resentment caused by William being perceived the favoured child and the future king? Well, my understanding is that Harry and not William was Diana's pet. There was a 2-year age difference. I think it's 2 years and 2 months age difference between the boys. And William was just that little bit marginally older than Harry and was also more of a consoler of Diana. But Harry was Diana's pet. Bear that in mind. It is not a fact that Harry hated William. Harry was jealous of any attention William got and used to kick William away. But that's because Harry wanted all of his mother's attention. That's not the same as hating William. My 2 children, when they were babies, I used to laugh and say, it wasn't always funny, but I laughed and said, because Dima was 2 months older than Misha, he discovered the joys of being held and having affection a little bit older than Misha, because until then, in the orphanage, they were just in their cots and only fed. So they had no attention and no love. And once Dima discovered the joys of being in my arms, he'd scream down the house if he wasn't in my arms, as long as I was around. I used to have to take Misha out to be able to give him time with me so that Dima wouldn't scream down the place. Harry did a version of that. Not necessarily as severe, but he did a version of it. And he did a rather nastier version of it because he used to kick William and things like that, and kick William away. Dima never kicked Misha away. Dima just screamed down the place until he got old enough to stop. But Harry was doing this long after Dima had stopped doing it. So I just make that point as well. But the boys loved each other, and they shared many good and many bad times together. And they shared not a unique, but a virtually unique, if there's such a thing. That's almost an oxymoron, because it either is unique or it's not. But I mean, very rare. They shared a very rare situation in that they were two princes whose parents were divorced, whose parents were effectively separated for years before they were divorced, who led completely separate lives. So Harry and William really did not grow up in a unified household, especially Harry, because Charles and Diana's marriage broke down right after Harry was born. So they had a very rare situation together in terms of good things and bad things, and it made them very close together, and they loved each other and were very supportive of each other. But Harry has always been troublesome, and William has always had Harry's back. But William is not having Harry's back when Harry has his hand around William's throat, trying to pull out his jugular so that Meghan can make bucks. However, every relationship there are pros and cons, there are upsides and downsides, there are resentments, there's love, etc. No relationship is 100% one thing or another. Meghan has played upon all the negatives. Meghan is the one who has destroyed the relationship between those two boys. Before Meghan, it was close and positive. Yes, it had its ups and downs, but they loved each other. Now, I'll tell you, whether they love each other or not, one of those brothers doesn't like the other at all, and with good reason, because one of those brothers knows the other brother is treacherous and destructive, and not only doesn't have his back, but is happy to plunge the knife in to gratify someone else. And before closing, actually, may I say, yes, Harry has always been jealous of William because William was going to be king. And Harry used to say when he was a little boy, because William balked at the idea of being king, Harry used to say, I'll be king, I'll be king. He was happy to offer himself as king. He's always wanted to be number one. And Diana's fundamental error, as I have pointed out in every book I've written about her, was that she erased the necessary differences in their future in a way that was not wholesome and that was bound to cause trouble down the line and has caused trouble down the line. Harry has a massive second son complex. But I think he still loves William. And I think William still loves him. William just can't afford to have him around him. Vanya Misevic says, life is all about storytelling and the stories we tell ourselves. Right. A quote from Meghan Markle. Yes. A very good quote from Meghan Markle. She may as well have said, which she has actually said on other occasions, when you don't like that version of the facts, just make up a new one. In other words, lie, 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 and invent a new truth by denying other truths. It is actually a pathological liar's remit. Sue Ann Miskey says, Lady Colin Campbell question. Apparently, before Meghan's interview with Oprah, Oprah asked her if she could interview her about all of Meghan's questions about her fake pregnancy rumours and surrogate pregnancy rumours. Apparently, Meghan said to Oprah, no, don't ask. Why? Well, this is a subject, as we all are fully aware of, that Meghan has studiously avoided. Why does Meghan studiously avoid this subject? I have my interpretation of why she studiously avoids this subject. Other people have their interpretations as well. More than that, I'm not prepared to say at this point, except that you notice Meghan gets a lot of mileage out of the delivery of those babies. Mickey, what is that about Federal Express? Oh, sorry, Mickey was snoring. She wasn't saying anything about Federal Express. Sorry. Naughty, naughty mummy. Lady C, what do you think about Meghan refusing to address the fake pregnancy rumours? Or another one. I have had children naturally. I would want to address fake pregnancy rumours if there were any about my pregnancies. Why do you think she is refusing to discuss it? There are two possible explanations for this. One is that she fomented the rumours deliberately to increase her profile and that she was pregnant. And the other is that she did not foment the rumours deliberately, that they arose naturally, and that she was possibly enacting a pregnancy while going down the surrogacy route. She has kept the controversy alive. She could very easily clear up the rumours. The palace could very easily clear up the rumours if she gave them her permission to do so. She's a human being. We live in a free society. She has rights. The palace cannot clear up those rumours unless she allows them to do so. This is really important. This is something you need to take under your belt and understand. The palace's hands are tied. Meghan has human rights. These human rights cannot be violated even by the court. whether it is a court of law or a monarchic court. You know, the palace is the interchangeable word for the court. The old-fashioned word was court. They can't. I just throw that out for good measure. They would not be able to violate her privacy. Their hands are legally tied. We live in a society and a country where the rule of law prevails, and nobody is above the law. The only person who is on a par with the law and who embodies the law is the Queen. Everybody else is below the law. That means the palace. That means the courtiers, the private secretaries, the press secretaries, members of the royal family. So, I leave you with this thought. Why would Meghan be so reluctant to clear up rumours of this nature? And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope you have enjoyed this. If you have, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and keep the questions coming in the comment section. Okay, for those of you who don't know it. Mickey has come back. Mickey, come and say goodbye. Come on. Mickey's slithered back. You can come. Come on. Come closer. Come on. Just come close into can everybody see? There we go. There, Mickey, say goodbye to everybody. Thank you very much and goodbye. God bless you.